everybody on a beautiful spring evening. Thank you for spending your evening with us. But I think you'll really like this, because if you've been with us the last 3 weeks, then you've been trying to put pieces together, and they've been leaving them hanging for you. So tonight, a bunch of them all come together, and a few new pieces are thrown into the puzzle to keep you intrigued. You will recognize some of what happens tonight because it will be just right from Scripture. And some of it, as with the others, is pure fantasy, where the writers and the director and everybody is simply saying, why would this have happened? And could it be possible that it happened this way? So it's possible. So tonight we go into that imaginary time that St. Ignatius of Loyola loved so much, and we hope to encounter God there in that imagination. So welcome. I hope you enjoy the evening. All right, so would you have left your nets and followed? And really, if you're Simon, do you have any options? It's so overwhelming, the experience. But would you be one of those who were sitting on the shore? Would you be listening to this itinerant preacher? Is he charismatic enough? Does he intrigue you enough? Does he touch your heart enough that you would follow? So, what do you think? Would you guys follow? Or would you say, no, that's crazy, he's crazy. That's just some guy on the shore.
That's a great question.
It's a really big kickoff question.
Wow, way to make us work.
Well, it's right at the end. This is the end. Are we following or not? Follow me. And then we can back up and get the other stuff.
Oh, man.
Based on the eye contact between, Bree, it's true. There was something in that gaze between Jesus and Simon. Because even before he saw the miracle, he's tired, he's been out all night. Jesus says, "Can I step into your boat?" Simon says, after looking at him, all right. And he says, "Throw your nets out." He's like, it's not going to work,
Right. Been at this.
but okay. So I'm following.
Well, I think he has to have a little bit of trust because of what Andrea said to him,
He does love Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
you know, and so he's got a little bit, he's kind of maybe a fourth of the way there. And then the miracle of the fish and the eye contact and the charismatic and, you know, it all adds up. I'm pretty sure I would have said, "I'll follow you," I think.
All right, let's go.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Me and
I'm
Bree
not-
might
I'm
be the
not-
holdouts, right?
Come on, guys, don't be.
I mean, if Anne's there, maybe.
Come on. It's fun.
I don't know. As Bill Kingston would say, we know how this ends. So I feel like I should say yes. But at this point in the story, I don't know if I'm on board yet. He just kind of creeps me out. I think he's great. I think that I don't think it's Jesus or the way that he is. I think it's maybe the actor playing him. Sometimes weirds me out a little bit. Also, apparently he's hanging out with some dude named Creepy John. So I don't know at this point. Maybe I'm not on board yet. But I'm here for his message, and I see he's got a few other followers. I liked that they had Mary and Thaddeus in this scene. They're listening to him at 6 a.m. and then stay to witness the miracle. I don't know. I feel like I'm going to have to think about this one for a little bit longer.
I love that you said, and he has a few other followers.
Mm-hmm.
Like that intrigues you.
Yeah.
Because I think for a chunk of my life, probably most of our lives, the reason you followed was because people I like and respect, and there's something to them that Sean, I see something in them. So I'm not sure about this, but I'm pretty sure about them.
Yes.
So
And
I'm
they seem to
intrigued
like him.
by his
Yeah.
followers.
Yes. I would agree with that completely. That's very true.
And that's worth it.
Yeah.
That'll still take you there.
This probably just tells me I have to stop watching so many crime shows. That's what the actual problem
Yeah,
is.
be suspicious of only. Well, you know, I've often, you know, when the political season comes up and some people are just enthralled with somebody running for office, and I think I have never in my life of 65 years been enthralled by any human being where I would say, he's the one. I'm putting my trust in him. I'm going to vote for him and follow him, and I know he's leading us the right way. I think nobody has ever done that in my life, where I'm willing to throw stuff down and go off and follow a human being. I find faults in every single person that shows everything. Well, I don't think I trust him. So for them to leave their boats behind and to go off and think, wow, that I would love that experience to meet somebody who enthralled me that much that it took me away into something entirely new. Now, I think in my own life Jesus has done that, but it's the message, it's the history, the tradition, the whole, as you know, the whole thing of others have believed this before, and so I can say yes, I can leave everything behind and say yes to this, but it's not a charismatic human being who's doing that.
Yeah.
Well, and I think Jesus had to be a little bit enthralled with Simon and Andrew and James and John. I mean, he had all those people there, and he picks those four out to say, follow me. You know, so there had to be something reciprocal there, you know, with them.
Well, I think too, in terms of Simon's prayer, and we talked about it kind of as the video was happening about
You really missed the big discussion.
lamenting, basically, Lord, you know, you said, you promised our ancestors that we were going to be a great people, and time after time after time, all these bad things have happened to us. And here I am now trying to be faithful, or had been faithful, and look at where it got me. Look at what mess I'm in. And so then Jesus's miracle, and Jesus is inserted into his life, and that prayer is answered
You still didn't say if you dropped your nets.
and followed. Well, you know, the other thing I look at is like, he asked 4 people to follow him. And so far what we've seen is 4 have followed. We know not everybody does, but that's pretty good odds. So I have to believe there is something in that kind of connection that I would say, yes. But I agree with Father too in his point about, for us, you know, this has been a process. It's not like
Yeah.
an instantaneous decision, follow me. I mean, I know it is, that we consistently having to say that or respond to that.
I think
But we didn't
Jesus would have
arrive-
gotten sick of me, because in the seminary it took me 7 years to say yes, because every year I was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this. Sorry, I can't. Like, yeah, get rid of that guy. He can't decide whether he wants to follow me or not. And then, yeah, but you're making me leave my wife at home.
Well, you know, and Peter's wife earlier says, where is your faith? She asks him, where is your faith, you know?
Love that part.
Yeah. And I thought it was interesting too that Peter knew, he obviously has studied a little bit because he knew of all the rejection.
Yeah.
And I was talking a little bit to Father this morning about, Peter turned away from God. That's what his problem was. That's like all of our problems, at some
Right.
point, is he turned away from God, and
Trying to do it on his own.
that's what happened.
Tried to do it on his own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
She's like, there you go again.
I can
Yep.
catch fish. I'll catch
I'll
the
fix
fish.
this on my
Yep,
own.
really.
Isn't that where we all get screwy Louie?
Yep.
And we always,
Yeah.
time and time again, we try that route.
Oh yeah.
Like it's our first avenue, even though
Right.
we know
I'll do it
that-
myself.
This
Yeah.
is pretty complicated. I better handle this one.
We have a couple of things here. Father, does it make you a bad Christian if you said no to not follow? Some are slow to trust.
I'm the only one that said no, so
Breeze back.
Bree, you're gonna have to leave. Off the couch.
I brought Christmas tonight.
The
No,
other half.
no, I don't think it makes you a bad Christian at all to go through a process of discernment to try and respond to Jesus' call for you, because I think that's what most of us are doing today. Because we don't have this charismatic
Right.
Jesus right in front of us. So physically, I don't hear his voice. I don't see his face. I can't have that look that Simon and he were looking at each other and saying, I'm going to follow that guy. So for us today, I think for all of us, we all come to an adult decision at some point where we have to say yes to the Lord. And for many people, that means when they're in college, they don't believe. And maybe for a few years after, people struggle with belief and trying to figure out, what is this something that I can trust? Can I follow? And when they finally make their decision, then it's more solid. They can truly give something up. They can give something away at that point.
And the other question was, and we talked about this a little bit earlier too, is changing the water. I thought that changing water into wine was the first miracle. Is it actually the fish? They're really taking this out of order.
Right.
Or are
So I'd have to grab a Bible because the water into wine is John's gospel,
right.
and calling of the fishermen would be Matthew, Mark, and Luke. So the water into wine is not in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. So it's hard to compare. They're just different accounts of the order. So sorry, you're never going to have a sequential
Right.
history of Jesus because we have multiple sources coming at us. So.
I liked in the, and he was, who's our tax collector?
Matthew.
Matthew, sorry. I lost my train of thought. But Matthew, he had played a much smaller role maybe than the others in this episode, but I like, he had, the line that I liked the most was when he was talking with Zebedee, and he said it's remarkable or it's miraculous. And he said, and Matthew says, it's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, I mean, it was right in front of him, and he said it's impossible, and yet he knew it had to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a conversion moment for Matthew.
totally. Because for him,
That's not
The
amazing.
number of fish.
That's impossible.
spoke to him.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it spoke to all of them in different ways, but it spoke to.
But he's the
Every one
bean
of them.
counter.
Yeah, he wants
Yes.
everything, all
Yeah.
the math to be.
That's not possible.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
This could not have happened.
Yeah.
This many fish don't even live in this.
Right. Where'd they all come from?
Plus, how do you fish them? Right, Father?
Right.
That's right.
Yeah. So one of my struggles
Somebody
is
might
how
have
do you
an
do
answer.
freshwater fishing with a net. So we're still waiting for somebody to teach us
If anyone knows, put it in the comments.
I can do it with a hook and lure. I can do it with, fly fishing, but throwing a net out into a lake, I've never done that. So
So
maybe it had a whole bunch of lures attached to it.
because they did mention lures.
They did mention lures.
Yeah.
So I liked, Matthew notices in Peter his talent.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
He says, when you talk, people listen to you.
Yeah.
That's your talent.
yeah.
Well, you said you have a singular talent.
Yeah.
Which means you have one talent.
Hey, one's
But
good.
you have an important one.
Better than none.
Yes, but it is an important
But
one.
people listen to
It's
you.
beautiful. And what Jesus does, though, is he notices Matthew's talent, and he notices Peter's talent, and James's talent, and he says, "Come follow me." And that's still stinking true. That even when we don't think we have much to offer, like a Peter, he sees our talent and says, "Come follow me." And we notice it in each other, sometimes even easier than we see it in ourselves.
Yeah.
And isn't that the key line of the whole thing? Follow me,
Come follow me.
follow me.
Yeah, make you into something else. Which Andrew had been telling him, if this is true,
I
it doesn't
found him.
matter.
I found him.
He's so excited.
Yeah,
Can you imagine? Because he had that experience before Peter, and I do feel like that's too. Everybody who's taught us about the Lord says, "This is real." So when I get to it, I'll decide when that is. I have to catch fish.
yeah. I got I got taxes to pay. Got a wife who's got her mother with us now, and she's coughing, and I don't know if I can stand this.
Well, and Zebedee too, in terms of when James and John say, "What are you going to tell Mom?" And a part of him, I'm sure, is like, "There's lots of things I'm not willing to tell your mom you're missing dinner for, but the Messiah, you are following the Messiah."
Yeah, that was a
I'm-
great
This
line.
is it?
Mm-hmm. That was a good one. You're worried about supper?
We've been praying about this our whole lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She'll understand. She'll be okay.
Yeah. I appreciated too in this episode Nicodemus's ongoing desire to know the truth and his unwillingness just to simply be a political leader at the time, because when they're bringing up the questions about John and what he's doing, and he is not just all upset that they got called names or those. Well, it depends on who he is. It's not who cares if we got called a name. But he's has some questions. He's seeking after the truth. He wants to know the truth, and it's that truth that keeps leading him, and will disappoint him, as we know the rest of the story, because he can't make that final yes. But it certainly intrigues him greatly.
His curiosity is really interesting.
It is.
It really is.
It's well portrayed. It's-
And it even makes you think that maybe he'll cross over,
Well, so, the speculation would be, if we know somebody's name in Scripture, that means they converted, because they hung around for the community to know them, and their story got told. So Nicodemus' story got told. The only reason why it got told is probably because at some point he converted to Christianity. And so while the later stories may or may not be as accurate, we know, that he told that story to John. Somehow that story got, and so he's around. There's a conversion at some point.
Well, and he's authentically seeking the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you just see it over and over again. He's not playing games. He really would like to know. And the thing I think we know about God is if you're truly trying to find the truth, you'll find it.
Mm-hmm.
You will. We think we know how that should go, and sometimes it goes different directions for people, but if you're truly seeking, if you're knocking,
And maybe that's not to rush to the end of the show, but I loved when Nicodemus is talking to John the Baptist and asks him about the miracle, and John the Baptist just smiles.
And no
And
answer.
it's like, maybe he is coming over to this side.
yeah.
At least he realizes that there is a miracle and someone was responsible for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we don't remember what we were saying and we lost you.
It was good though.
So we're
It was
gonna.
profound.
It was profound. It was the
Woo.
deepest, most wonderful thing we said all night.
Unbelievable.
And maybe it's on tape somewhere, and Pete can go back and find it someplace.
It's recorded and we repost.
Right. So you just have to go back and review the whole thing if you were watching this to get that profound statement.
Maybe God didn't want it out. That 3 minutes.
That could be God edited it out, because we were talking about Nicodemus and John, and John
And
smiling
John's smiling.
when Nicodemus asked about miracles.
And
But will you-
Nicodemus seeking truth.
Just to make sure, because I thought that was a really good point that you made about if we know their name.
Yes.
Oh, that Nicodemus most likely had a conversion at some point, because the fact that we know people's names in the New Testament, it's because they told the story, or they continue to tell the story about what happened to them in their encounter with Jesus. So if we don't know people's names, and you're reading the gospel and it's an unnamed woman or man, gone. We never saw them again. But if we have their names, then they talked to the gospel writers and they ended up
And I think-
converting at some point.
For whatever, I think at least for me, that's real encouraging. Because you do kind of like this character, Nicodemus,
Right.
here. It's
Mhm.
it's very endearing because he is seeking, he desires to know, and
And he really gives you the impression that he doesn't, I at first thought in the earlier episode with Mary that he wanted to find out because he wanted to get credit for it.
Right.
But now I don't think that's the case. He really wants to know how
Who-
this happened.
Yeah. Is
Is there a miracle worker there, or
right. Could this be the Messiah?
Right.
And then it's his job as a religious leader to find this. This is what we're waiting for. So is this the Messiah?
it'll be interesting to see how it plays out because Nicodemus is now thinking that John the Baptist
Might be
might be
him.
the
Right, Messiah.
Yeah.
But I love the pace of life when his wife is wanting to go back home, and he's saying, "Well, we'll stay a fortnight, and keep investigating this." Like 2 weeks. I wish I had my life like that. Well, this is interesting. I think I'm going to stay another couple weeks.
Like the weather here, the food's good.
Yeah, we're going to check this out. Sorry, everybody. I'll be back when I get back.
I like how calm and then anxious he gets about it. Like with his wife, he's just like, listen, I got work to do.
Yeah.
But then when he's talking with his students and the other rabbis, he's like, wait, what did you hear? What's going on? What's happening over here? Like, I need all the information right now.
And I'll question him myself.
Yeah, I got this. Don't worry.
Yeah.
well, even when he went to see John the Baptist, John made the comment, "You're clearly more scared than I am
Yeah.
in this environment,"
Mm-hmm.
or something to that.
You're
effect.
the all-powerful.
You're the all-powerful, yeah. That's what, or you're the leader or something
Yeah.
like that.
The other little piece in tonight's episode that I thought was just fascinating, what the writers did, is that they had Peter get his ear cut by the Roman soldier, because it'll be Peter who will cut off a Roman soldier's ear in the Garden of Gethsemane. So it's
Payback.
payback.
But he heals it.
Yeah, Jesus does. Yeah, put that ear back on.
Stop that.
You're just doing payback, but it's that same guy. It's the same guy in the boat.
That
Got
stinker.
him.
He's the one that got my ear. I'm getting his.
Well, and that
An
stinker
ear for an ear.
in the boat
Year for year.
when he's so just, what would the word be?
Discouraged.
Lamenting.
Frustrated, scared, angry, all of that all in one. And he's trying to fix the situation. He's got himself in such a dang mess. And his life's so complicated. And I thought about how complicated we make our lives. And how with God, it's not that complicated. It's like, how do we make things so stinking complicated? And it's sin, typically. And his frustration level and his discouragement. And Andrew's trying to say, if this is the Messiah,
It's all
None of
good.
it matters.
It
don't
Doesn't
even,
matter.
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. And yet in our own lives, we get in that stinking boat where we're all discouraged and it's all about us fixing it and we're trying to figure it out and we're the Savior.
Yeah.
God never screws it up.
He does not.
It's it's not God's fault that you're not
No.
catching fish and that you.
And it's a surrender.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a simple surrender
Yeah.
every time.
An acceptance of what God has in store. That was yesterday's reading from the Acts of the Apostles for the daily mass, which I love that little story because they're arrested and they're sitting in
up.
jail. And what do they do in jail instead of complaining and moaning? Oh, here we are now.
Let's sing.
We're locked up. Well, we're going to sing hymns.
Yeah.
So they just sing songs in there, and then there's an earthquake, and everybody else runs away, and they just stay in there and keep singing.
That is a great
Well,
story.
let's sing some more.
Yeah.
Because the guard was going
We're
to kill
chained,
himself.
chained to a stake inside a prison,
Yeah.
and I'm going to sing hymns.
Yeah. Because just that I'm
That's
going to
some faith.
accept whatever God gives me. Okay, this is today. Today's looks like crap,
Yep.
but it's
Where
not.
God has me.
This is accept what God has given me, and I'm going to sing a song, and it'll be fine.
And we hear of saints throughout history. Maximilian Kolbe comes to mind.
Right, in prison.
In prison, Nazi Germany.
Yep.
And what did everybody notice about him? They're singing. It felt like a church in that concentration camp.
Yeah.
We'd like to, Simon, we probably haven't given him enough credit, but, that decision that he made when he was with the Roman soldiers in the boat. And I almost have to believe that he left that night thinking, I'm going to do one thing. And got right up to the line and saw them actually and
Couldn't do it.
decided, I can't do this. I can't turn in my fellow fishermen and friends.
Obviously,
and,
good friends. Look what they
Yeah.
did for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a part of that that's like,
Well, and he had to be scared too that if by taking them off course and then they see these guys,
yeah.
they probably would kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did. In a way, he laid down his life, the potential for losing his
Yeah.
life
Right. To
for
save
his
them.
friends.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
And I love Peter's wife. She is so,
Eden.
oh
Even.
yeah,
she's really
She's so
powerful.
great.
yeah.
And kind of mean like Kathy.
Tough on her husband.
Well, and you think about that day and that time period that they were nobodies.
Yeah, they were
Right.
very
Yeah.
subservient.
And yet she's like, stop it.
Yeah, yeah, she really.
And everybody in the room's like,
Yeah. And she tells him, "You lost your faith."
you
Yeah.
lost
Lost
your
Right. She
faith.
spoke truth.
I loved that piece.
Yeah.
You have not pursued the Lord lately, and this is why you're stuck and desperate and going to try to fix this yourself again.
Try to fix it yourself
Isn't
again.
that the truth? I mean, that was her line, and I'm like, that's me. That's me too. That's me.
That's all
Maybe
of
that's why I relate so well to Peter.
Yeah. Yeah, all of us
Yeah, it is all of us.
doing that over and over
Stuck
again.
and desperate. Why don't you fix it?
Right. I don't have time to pray today. God, sorry. I got too much to do. So goodbye. Catch you later. I just would have spent the time in prayer. This would have been fixed. But no.
Yep.
I don't have time to pray. I got to do this.
Yeah.
And then it gets all messed up,
Yeah,
and
it
I
happens
can't get
every
it
time.
done. And, oh, it was just the whole day was ruined. Yeah. Yeah, if you had just prayed.
It's true.
I think Peter's most relatable because of his, I think it's his very last line, but when he's like, hey, so Jesus, couldn't you just like do that one more time?
Yeah.
Like he had this conversion moment and he is still the same exact person.
Yes.
We could
I'm-
make a lot of money.
We can make a lot of money.
We could make a lot of money.
Get back on the boat with me.
See, and I thought he was teasing him.
But I think it's a great line because it's like he had this great conversion, but he's still the same person.
Right.
And like I mean, I just think that speaks to us. Like
Yeah.
we're so faithful and yet we still fall back into our bad
Right.
habits and our bad ways, and so but God's always there to pick us up.
Yeah, good insight. Because if Jesus had said, okay, you know what Peter would have said? All right, let's go.
Oh, yeah,
Go.
really. Yeah, he would.
We can sell this fish
Where do you want
4
me to put
times
this
a
net
minute.
now?
Felt a little bit sad for James and John and Andrew. Because Jesus is like, Peter, follow me. And he's like, I will. And he's like, you too. You guys, you can come too.
There you go.
Hey guys,
They're like,
I know.
okay.
Especially
I
Andrew.
guess if you're
Since Andrew was the one that really
Right, that is
The whole
true.
time.
discovered him
Seen
first, you
right.
know.
He's a follower of John. He's my favorite character in this.
Who,
episode.
Andrew?
This is week after week, Bree.
I know. What? I haven't picked Andrew yet. Maybe.
You just said he's your favorite character.
In this episode.
I think what she's saying, yes, in every episode so far, I think he.
Is that true?
I said
Last
Andrew.
episode, he wasn't there. It was just kids.
No, yeah, that's
Did
Yeah,
we
we
say
didn't-
favorite character?
No, we didn't do it
No.
last time.
My favorite character was the little girl.
I know, I was going to bring it up, but I was like, we're all going to
Abigail.
pick Abigail. This is silly. He's so excited. And Peter just keeps shooting him down.
Yeah.
And I feel so bad for him, but he just maintains that excitement the whole time. Like, he doesn't. No big deal. Just brush it off. He's still excited. Like,
Well, if you've met the Messiah.
yeah, he met the Messiah, so, like, he doesn't really care what Simon thinks, even though he's screwing up their whole lives. So,
It would have been interesting to know the backstory of Andrew following John the Baptist a little bit, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was obviously very, very
devoted.
enamored, or whatever
Right.
word you want to use, believe in what John the Baptist was saying. So if you producers are listening out there, please try to get that in.
Okay, are we favorite
Maybe.
character?
Favorite
Okay.
character.
She
in
said
this
Andrew.
episode,
Andrew.
She says
Peter's
Ann.
wife.
Eden. She's a good one.
Why, Chris?
I guess because of her faith. You know, she was solid in knowing that, you know, you haven't been following God, you haven't been doing what God wants you to do, you haven't been faithful. In fact, one of the lines I think is, where is your faith?
Mhm.
I just like her faithfulness.
I agree with Chris. I really like her in this episode because I do think it was her encouragement or whatever you call that, but that's encouragement, that I think shifted his thinking, which he really was in desperate need of. And that's love. Sometimes hearing things we don't want to hear
Yep.
from our lovely spouses. Sometimes we need that.
Father.
Father.
There's a lot of characters in this one. There's the dog, he's so faithful to Matthew. And he sits there with him all night long and barks when Peter's yelling in the boat.
People bark too.
People bark too.
Yeah. That's a great line.
And also, we don't in Scripture get to know Zebedee at all. We get to know James and John, but in here they show Zebedee and his kind of maturity and thinking through things and his willingness to come out there and help Peter, even though Peter was kind of double-crossing him, and still his faithfulness there. And then he was going to fix everything afterwards. He'd sell the fish and pay off the debts and do all that kind of stuff. So all that kind of work so that the rest of the group can go off and listen to Jesus.
Yes.
And he's like, okay, I'll sell the fish. I'll explain to your
I'll take
mom.
care of everything.
Yeah, the
Peter's
boys
dead.
are
Yeah.
gone, and I have to do it all. I have to stay here and do all the work. But so I thought that was a good portrayal of him. So,
Even when he shows up out in the water, and he's like, I hear you need a real fisherman.
yeah,
Yeah.
Because first Simon says, "Who brought the old man?"
yeah.
That's his response.
Yeah.
It's just
He's
like,
gotta stick up for himself.
he's great. Zebedee.
Yeah.
Sons of Zebedee. Wow.
And
Eden.
Oh, I was gonna drum roll you in.
Yeah, she is. The fact that she says, I have to take care of my mom, you ding dong. It's the right thing to do. You do what you got to do, but I got to take care of my mom here.
Right, she's sick.
She's sick. And then her beautiful, I don't even know what you'd call it. I have naughty words. I won't say them. Chewing out Peter, Simon. Come on, you're better than this. What's going on here? I'm not going to tolerate this. And just the fact that in our lifetime, how much time have you spent thinking about Peter's wife?
Yeah.
Most of us have, you thought, oh, that's sad, he followed Jesus, and wonder what happened to his family.
yeah.
Right.
There's some faith there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There is some faith there. Maybe the most real kind of faith is
Yeah.
right there.
Well, and she had a lot of faith in Peter
Heck yeah.
She did.
Yeah.
because
Yes.
Oh,
she
yeah.
said, the gambling, the being out at
Working,
night,
yeah.
fishing on Sabbath,
Sabbath,
and so she must have really loved him or had a lot of faith that.
Oh, she's
Yeah.
loving him so well.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
is.
She's loving him like the kind of love that really means something.
These portrayals, I think, is helpful. So then when you hear the Sunday scriptures or you read the scriptures, that image of Peter can come to life. So, like last Sunday's first reading, where Peter, it's not in the reading, but I talked about it. The vision he has of the food, you can eat
Oh, yeah.
everything.
Oh, yeah.
And so it comes down and God tells him to eat. I will not.
Yeah.
I think,
You're like,
okay,
yeah.
God just told you to eat it. I won't. You can just see this Peter in this episode, stubborn, and this is what I do. And no, I don't do that. And God had to do it show him three times. Take, eat.
And that
Yeah,
changed everything.
Yeah.
Took 3 times,
Yep.
but what that did for all of Christianity.
Yeah. The bacon you had this morning. You're thankful for that.
Sausage, all that.
The ham that's right here.
I also love Matthew. Just has so much in this episode.
Yeah.
Like, he is a smaller character in this episode, but he has so much growth and so much more curiosity than he had before. Like,
Yeah.
I felt like he really boxed himself in. Like, he was like, I'm a tax collector, everybody hates me. And then in this episode, he's like, but who is this guy?
Yeah,
Like,
he's starting
what's going
to.
on?
You can see him starting
Yeah.
to figure it out a little bit in his weird mind.
I just admire how dedicated, though, he is to his work. Because all I could think was when they showed him waking up on the beach, I'm like, oh gosh. His OCD is just going nuts right now. He's like, I fell asleep. The dog is next to me. I have the same sandals on. There's so many not okay things. But he was a good character, too.
Yeah. Yeah, taking his notes for Quintus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our question for the week for our viewers, I like the question that you started it off with.
Would you follow?
Yeah.
Would you follow? I think something to pray with and ponder this week and
I
till
don't know
next
what
time.
next
All
week's
right.
episode is. I think it might be the wedding feast.
You said that
Yeah,
last
I
week.
think so. I think you're right. I think you're right, Chris.
Thank you,
Pete, Pete's
Ann.
saying it's episode 5.
Thanks a lot, Ann.
Thanks, Pete.
I think
You're
it's
helpful.
Yes, you got it.
What episode is it? It's 5.
It's 5.
5.
Yeah, thanks.
That's what I thought.
Okay, good night, everyone.
Well, whatever it is, we'll see you next week.
Thank you.